is under the gaze of both the beating African sun and the imposing Atlas Mountains. This, the MarrakeshEprix, round 10 of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship. The cars are all lined up on the grid, ready for 45 minutes plus one lap of racing, just a couple of miles north of the Medina here that you can see downtown, and this is how the grid will line up. Andre Lotterer and Antonio Giovinazzi, both penalised in qualifying, they start at the back. Stoffel Vandoorne in 20th is the championship leader. A catastrophic qualifying for him sees him with a lot of work to do this afternoon. Sebastian Buemi had a 3-place grid drop after a crash yesterday in free practice. Robin Freitz is only 15th. He's fifth in the championship. His championship challenge looks to be disappearing. Sergio Sede-Camara is 12th, just behind Oliver Rowland in the Mahindra, who just missed out on getting into the top 10. He intends to send it, he told me on the grid, and get stuck in. 10th is Lucas Di Grassi for the Rocket Venturi team, the champion in Season 3, looking to get forward and score big points for his team, who are fighting in the team's championship. Mercedes EQ are leading the team's championship. The reigning champion, Nick de Vries, is the highest of their runners. He is only 9th on the grid. Nick Cassidy did well to advance through to the duels stage of qualifying. The New Zealander is starting 8th for the Envision team. Oliver Askew had comfortably his best qualifying performance of his Formula E career. A rookie this season, the American lines up 7th on the grid for the Avalanche Andretti team. Mitch Evans, he is coming into this race having won the last one in Jakarta and is 4th in the championship, just 12 points off the championship lead. The Jaguar man needs to make progress. His first target will be Jake Dennis in the other Avalanche Andretti. Both of the American team's cars getting through to the duels. Then it's Pascal Wehrlein, race winner in Mexico City. Can he repeat it again here in Marrakesh? He is driving the Tag Heuer Porsche. Third on the grid is the second place man in the championship, Jean-Eric Vergne. He is 5 points off Stoffel Vandoorne in the championship lead, but only 2 points ahead of Eduardo Mortara in the Rocket Venturi, who starts second on the grid just in front of him. But it's the other DS Techeetah of Antonio Felix da Costa, the Season 6 champion, the last race winner here in Marrakesh 2 years ago, that starts on pole position, looking for his first victory of the season. I'm Jack Nicholls. Alongside me here in the commentary box is the 3-time Le Mans 24-hour winner, former Audi team principal when they were here in Formula E as well, Alan McNish. I'm really excited for this race, Alan. It's actually been 6 hours since qualifying happened, and it's just got me more excited than usual. Yeah, it is. There's a lot of different stories coming through it, whether Stoffel Vandoorne and how far he'll be able to come through. Also, who's going to get the dash to the first corner, because Da Costa's on pole, but Mortara is on the inside, and Jean-Eric Vergne as well, just sitting there. But I would start to watch your man for the favourite, Mitch Evans, because he will be attacking and very aggressive. He's got to make progress in these early stages, hasn't he? The cars burn out on their way to the line. That's it. That's the extent of their formation lap. Just get some rear temperature in the tyres. It's the only time all race they'll be trying to do that in order to get a good launch off the line. You see everyone else smoking their way into their grid slots. That was a view from Robin Freitz in the Envision car. This is Stoffel Vandoorne. So many cars ahead of the championship leader. Can he stay out of trouble at the first corner? We'll try to keep an eye on him, but the other title protagonists are up at the front. Da Costa on pole, Mortara and Vergne right behind him. All 5 lights are on. And we go green in Marrakesh. It's not a great start from Mortara. Da Costa's done a really good job. And Vergne goes to the outside, but doesn't fancy an attack round the outside. Big lock-up from the front too. They both managed to get it stopped. Oliver Askew's on the attack, trying to go around the outside, and Mitch Evans is up into 6th place, and he's pulled it off. Evans has lost a place at the start, although he will have the inside line for the left-hander at turn 3, and he keeps it stuck in there. He's also got the Porsche. He goes to the inside of Wehrlein. Evans on the attack straight away, but Wehrlein holds the position. We're on board with the New Zealander running in 6th place. Looked as though he was about to lose out. Then suddenly he was on the attack, and actually Askew has just lost out to Cassidy and to Oliver Rowland, who's getting his elbows out early on. There's cars everywhere up at the chicane, but Da Costa holds the lead, Mortara 2nd, and then it's Vergne 3rd. Dennis is in 4th because he managed to get ahead with Wehrlein at the start. Very busy opening couple of corners. Everybody safely through. Everybody just safely through, I've got to say there. It was very aggressive by Evans, but I think it was actually just making sure that he kept his position, managed to get through from it. Stoffel Vandoorne still down in 20th. I think he's basically trying to play the long game, looking ahead to see, keep the energy for the end of the race. But Da Costa at the moment has got a little bit of breathing space over Eduardo Mortara. Here they come then into the final corner, the right-hander of turn 12 and out over the start, finish straight. Look at the advantage that Da Costa is building up as he leads over the line. Mortara is second, Verne is third, Dennis is fourth, Evans is going for the dummy on Pascal Wehrlein. Very, very late, aggressive block there from Wehrlein, but he keeps Evans behind for the moment. That was a bit sketchy for me, but we'll see what happens as we go back on board with Evans down in towards turn 3. He is very keen to get past, and Evans is not happy with Wehrlein's defending here.
No, he's certainly not, but he knows he has to get past because the gap to Dennis is actually increasing, and so Wehrlein is not quick in race pace at this moment. It's only lap 2, but at the moment Evans needs to get past him pretty quickly, and he's going to have to do it with a very robust attack because Oliver Rowland's right behind to pick up the pieces.
Look how far ahead the cars are in front. Evans now coming down into turn 7, goes to the inside. It's another late block, and there's an attack from Oliver Askew trying to make progress up the field to get ahead of Cassidy. You can see Evans gesticulating with his hands every time that Wehrlein makes one of those blocking manoeuvres. 42.5 minutes to go, and they're onto the brakes again into turn 10. Meanwhile, it's pretty close between Dennis and Verne for third place as well, but Evans knows he's got to get past as quickly as possible, but he can't afford to use too much energy in these early stages doing it.
No, he can't, but at the same time, he can't afford to try to sit behind either. And so I think he is going to have to make a really strong manoeuvre on this one. But you're right, Pascal Wehrlein is on the absolute limit, he's gone into the last corner.
So into turn 12, a very unorthodox overtaking opportunity, but Evans has managed to make it through, and Wehrlein's now getting passed around the outside by Oliver Rowland. So very, very conservative energy-wise in the early stages for Pascal Wehrlein, and he's held up this whole queue, and now there's a huge gap from the top 4 back to Evans in 5th place, and the Jaguar team are going to be so frustrated with that, as now Nick Cassidy in the green and blue Envision is trying to make through, but they're in the top 4. Da Costa, Mortara there in second in the black Rocket Venturi, and then it's Verne, and then it's Dennis who's holding on with these leaders at the moment. Yellow flag for a bit of bodywork there, you can see on the exit of that right-hand kink.
Yeah, but Dennis, generally I would have said, is very quick at the beginning of the races, but ultimately on energy he's not quite as good. But Pascal Wehrlein defending like a Nick de Vries down the inside, completely locked up, as Oliver Askew's lost that bit of bodywork on the left front wheel as well. It's really a blockage as we've got one of the Neos stopping.
Tictum's broken. Right rear puncture by the looks of things for Dan Tictum, and he's going to be out of the race. I'd have thought him should be able to crawl back to the pits, but that's a real shame because Neo looked all right over the course of the weekend so far. Now, Evans trying to close back in.
Time to get back to the pits.
Okay, copy. All right, nice and steady back to the pits. Do what you can. Is it contact damage?
So that's Tictum talking to his engineer, trying to get back to the pitch. Da Costa, Mortara, Verne and Dennis come through. Then there's Evans in the number 9 Jaguar. More defensive work from Pascal Wehrlein, but he can't stop Nick Cassidy going around the outside. This from Wehrlein feels like almost like he thinks the race, that Porsche think the race will be a lap longer than everybody else right now. Yeah,
at this moment in time, they're definitely on a different strategy, no question, but they're going backwards very, very quickly. So they're gambling on the leaders in terms of where they are with the race.
Come Evans, and he is ahead of Oliver Rowland, and then they come down towards the left-hander now of turn 7. Da Costa's margin up at the front is 7/10 of a second. On board we go with Jake Dennis running in 4th place, so he's got those top 3 all ahead of him. Dennis was a title contender going into the final race of the season last year. Hasn't been quite as strong this year. Robin Franks has just got ahead of Sergio Sette Camera and up into 13th position. De Vries has now got past Wehrlein as well. A word on that De Vries move. I think it was getting past De Grassi. He was all locked up coming into turn 7. That was quite something from Nick De Vries.
Yeah, offline it's very, very dirty. So when they do go down the inside or on the outside, then they tend to be just sliding around. It's fantastic to watch. I've got to say, from inside the car, it's a little bit of praying that you're going to get the thing stopped. And from inside the garage, I'm sure the engineers are just praying even more so.
Here we go with Jake Dennis down towards turn 1 again in the Avalanche Andretti. He's up behind Jean-Eric Verne, who's running in 3rd place at the moment. 2nd is Eduardo Mortara, and 1st is Antonio Felix Da Costa. So Diaz Techeetah 1st and 3rd. We'll be getting into attack modes and stuff a little bit later on, so we'll see what happens there. And there go both Diaz Techeetahs. Both Diaz Techeetahs activate their 1st attack mode of the race. So Da Costa and Verne through attack mode. Now, you get a 13% power boost for only 3 minutes in this race, and it can be activated twice during the race. Normally it's 4 minutes, but it's only 3 minutes in Marrakesh. Now, Mortara, is he going to try and keep Da Costa behind? How much are they going to fight? Verne is coming here back ahead of Jake Dennis, and Verne is back up into 3rd position. So this has already brought Evans reasonably back into this top 5. It's also worth noting, some engineers reckoning use your attack modes early because that will put less stress into the battery when it's cooler, or put the stress into the battery when it's cooler rather than at the end of the race.
Yes, correct, but on the other side you put more into the tyre as well, and so there is a little bit of a balance there. It depends on whether you're more tyre limited or battery limited. Everybody, I think, is going to be temperature conscious today. There is no question about it, but the DSs are very consistent, I would say, very clear on their strategy. Interesting thing for me, Verne was able to go straight past Dennis.
Yeah.
It wasn't a question, it wasn't a dive, it was a clean overtake, and I would expect Da Costa to be in a similar position going down into turn 7 on Mortara for the lead of the race.
Then we've got Evans and Roland who have joined this, making it a top 6 now. Sam Bird's just get ahead of Lucas de Grassi. Eduardo Mortara into attack mode, and he just comes out behind. Big squealing of tyres. Was that Roland sliding around so much on the exit there as he tried to keep it together? But Da Costa back in the lead. Mortara 2nd, Verne 3rd. But crucially, Mortara will have an extra lap. It was Nick Cassidy. Cassidy spun while trying to take attack mode. That was the squealing of tyres we heard. That's why he's now down into 14th place.
And there you saw it, Mortara was able to gain a little bit of time on Da Costa there just by using it 1 lap later. That attack mode area is very, very dirty, and so you've got to be clear that you can come out and cleanly then attack into the next chicane. It's worked out certainly for the top 4 at the moment.
And if you keep your eye on the tower, well, there we just saw Stoffel Van Dorn getting ahead of Sergio Sete Camara, so we'll occasionally put Van Dorn's onboard on the tower on the left-hand side. He's already up into 16th place, though, the championship leader, but it's very much a case of damage limitation. This is what happened to Cassidy. Oh, he just got on the dirty stuff, activating attack mode.
Yeah, he attacked in too aggressively and dropped the right rear wheel off the circuit, which is dusty. No one's been there for 3 years.
Roland on the attack on Evans. So Oliver Roland gets up into 5th position in the Mahindra, looking strong, and he's in attack mode. Evans and Dennis have yet to activate their attack mode, but Roland on a bit of a charge. In fact, he's right behind Dennis now, coming into turn 3, and he goes for it because Dennis and Evans activate their attack modes. So the top 6 all currently in attack mode, but DS Techeetah will be out of their attack mode imminently, whereas everybody else will have another lap or 2 in extra power.
It's interesting for me what Mortara's able to do. He's got 1 minute and 20 seconds of attack mode. He's got another lap over Da Costa. Can he use it to leapfrog Da Costa and then get track position? Because we've noticed in the previous races, Mortara's been very much later than the others in taking their attack mode and used it to great effect.
And so many times it feels like
it's
doing it wrong. Yeah.
But he gets it right, and I was very surprised the way it was working in Jakarta, but very clear they have their strategy, and he has the strategy how to do it, and he can feel how it's working on the tyre. As there, Roland's gone into 3rd place.
Roland's loving life right now in the Mahindra. Absolutely superb drive from Roland. The whole Mahindra team incredibly excited for Hyderabad next year, which was announced on the calendar. The first FormulaE race in India. They've got some Hyderabad logos on the car as well. There we've got energy remaining. Verne has got a bit more than everyone. Roland has got way less. So Roland's 2% less. Are they on a different strategy? Meanwhile, Dennis is getting his elbows out. Verne is almost getting elbowed into the wall. And here comes Evans, the 2 drivers who are 2nd and 4th in the championship. And Evans gets ahead of Jean-Eric Verne, and that is a move for position. Da Costa's going for his 2nd attack mode straight away, and he suddenly drops down into 3rd position. What a action-packed opening 10 minutes we've had here in Marrakesh. Sometimes FormulaE races are quite steady in the opening half, and then it all kicks off. We've gone straight for the jugular.
This one's certainly anything but steady, and there's pace to be able to overtake, something I was slightly concerned about before the race, but definitely at this moment in time, it's looking good. So it's Mortara that's now leading, only having done 1 attack mode, but Mortara's 0.3 of a second ahead of this guy we're sitting on board with, Antonio Felix da Costa.
So Mortara leads, Roland 2nd, Da Costa 3rd in the black and gold DS Techeetah. 4th is Jake Dennis. 5th now is Mitch Evans, and then 6th is Jean-Eric Verne. We're on board in driver's eye with Oliver Roland as we come down towards turn 11. Now, he had used a bit more than those around him, 2% more, but then the last time we saw the energy, it was only 1% more, so maybe just going aggressive in the early stages, Roland. Here they come across the line. Mortara leads, Roland second, Da Costa third, and Da Costa going for second. Roland covers the inside and holds the place. Holds on to second spot in that Mahindra, and if anything, Da Costa gets a little offline there, and Jean-Eric Verne is slipping back. You can see Mortara, Roland, Dennis. In fact, it's only Da Costa who's used both of his attack modes so far. Evans is right on the back of Dennis coming into 3. Doesn't do anything. Roland does. Activates his attack mode. Is he going to come out in front of Dennis? They're side by side. And Roland does come out in front of Jake Dennis. The two drivers who have had collisions in karting when they were kids in the past, but they get along fairly well now. And they are running in third and fourth.
Good by Roland there to be able to get that second attack mode done and out and only have dropped to one position. But now he's got a minute and 20 seconds more attack mode time left than Antonio Felix da Costa ahead of them. But still leading is Mortara. He's only taken that one attack mode, so he will drop down when he does take it, but then he'll have the full 3 minutes to try and get that position back.
Was that contact with Da Costa? Did Roland nudge the back of Da Costa there? And yes, because Roland's letting him back through, I think.
Yep.
Roland lets Da Costa back through. Da Costa says, didn't really enjoy that, mate. And I think that was ultimately fair, clean play by Oliver Roland.
Yes, he let him back through, there was no question about it, and at this moment in time it's been Rolls' status quo, but it's allowed Eduardo Mortara to get a bit of a gap. He's now 1.4 seconds.
At the end of the race with this pace that he's doing. X-ray 4, Bravo Charlie.
Evans goes to the inside and gets ahead of Jake Dennis. Verne is still down there in 6th. I think Da Costa was saying there's no way Roland's getting to the end of this race with the pace that he's doing. So watch for the contact. Bump.
Yeah, just a touch. It just was enough to unstable the destabilise the rear of the car, and that then Da Costa had to overcorrect and take him offline, and he was late on throttle.
Eduardo Mortara has taken his second attack mode now, so he is in attack mode. He is ahead of Antonio Felix da Costa, who's used his attack mode. Mortara's got 3 minutes of it, and Roland is going to go for Da Costa here, down into turn 7, not quite close enough.
We can create a gap.
Mortara being told to create a gap to Da Costa in behind. Verne was on the attack there, trying to get ahead of Jake Dennis, and did manage to do so, down into turn 7. Van Dorn's progress is now up into 14th position, but Mortara is leading. Da Costa is second. Roland is third. Not for long. Roland is second. It's on a mission, Roland. Let's have a look at the, because with 31 minutes to go, Roland is now up into second place. He only has 1% less than Mortara.
Yeah, but he's got 2% less than Da Costa, or 1.5, 2% less than Da Costa. That's a lot of energy. Yeah. He needs to try to hold his position now, which will ultimately, the beneficiary will be Eduardo Mortara, because he can do his own race, as he did in Berlin when he won. And so in that respect, now he's just got to think about the controlling of it, whereas Roland is creating the problem for Da Costa. And Verne has got the most energy of everybody. He looks 69%. And so he's in a really good position playing the long game. He needs to try to keep in touch, though, with Evans, just ahead of him.
Da Costa third, Evans fourth, Verne fifth. Dennis activates his second attack mode with half an hour to go.
And just to note, of all the main runners, the one person that hasn't taken his second attack mode is Evans. Everybody else has, as we see now.
Sims,
my goodness,
trying to find some room that I didn't think existed. It did exist, and Sims gets past Robin Freitz, and now Freitz is going to get passed by Pascal Wehrlein as well. So Freitz losing a couple of places after he had gained a couple of places, but that was quite busy, and Van Dorn is the next guy to try and pass Robin Freitz.
That's Pascal Wehrlein that was battling for a podium position at the beginning of the race. Now he's down in 12th place, 9 seconds, 10 seconds off the lead.
And that was all just from his energy management, wasn't it? There was no contact or a spin or anything like that. He just dropped back. Yeah. So Van Dorn then gets ahead of Freitz and is up into 13th place as they come around the final corner. There he is in the silver Mercedes, disappearing undershot now.
4 seconds off the top 10.
Yeah.
And so right now he's got a bit of a gap to get through, and then he'll be up towards Askew in top 10.
Eduardo Mortara leading the Prix. Mitch Evans now activates his attack mode and comes out in the same place he was before, i.e. ahead of Jean-Eric Verne. And look, I know we're only 15 minutes into this race, but in the same way that Diaz Techeetah lost a win from a 1-2 on the grid last time, they're currently 3rd and 5th, having started 1st and 3rd on the grid in the early stages. Dennis on the attack from Verne, on Verne, I should say, to the inside, And Jake Dennis gets ahead of Jean-Eric Vernon up into 5th place. This is also a much stronger showing from the Andretti team. They've struggled a bit in race pace in the past when Dennis has qualified well, but they're still relatively in the mix now. I know, we're only 15 minutes in.
Yeah, that's the thing I was just going to say. We've still got 29 minutes to go plus 1 lap. So there's a lot of racing still to go, as now we see there's a switch for 2nd place and Da Costa goes ahead of Roland.
Antonio Felix Da Costa in the DS to Cheetah, back ahead of Oliver Rowland, who's in 3rd, and Rowland, I think, will be imminently passed potentially by Mitch Evans, and it could be right here down the start-finish straight. Evans is in attack mode, goes to the inside, and he's through. Mitch Evans up into 3rd place, having started in 6th on the grid, and he's right behind the pole man now. He's in his 2nd attack mode. He could be past the pole man by turn 7 on this lap.
Yeah, the one thing that he's got to be careful of is he'll use more energy in attack mode. He already was 1.5% down, if I remember correctly, on Da Costa's energy last time we saw it on the graphic, and that's going to be very important towards the end of the race. I think Roland, though, has now done all of his major fighting with his elbows out, and is now trying to conserve his position.
Here comes Evans in the fight with Da Costa over 2nd place. We're on board with the Jaguar man. A little bit too far back, but he's got time. Oh. Wondered if Da Costa was going in too hot there into 7, but he got it in. But still a minute left for Evans to try and make this move. And if he gets him into 2nd, it is legitimately 2nd place on the road. No more sort of attack modes or anything else to play out. Da Costa's looking in his mirror, and he's covering the inside down in towards turn 11.
No, it's not an easy place to do it down into turn 11. As the road kinks to the right, but now into turn 1 is the point that he's still got 44 seconds, and so he's really got to try it into this first corner.
Da Costa has the inside, Evans goes to the outside, but he's got so much more speed, and Evans is up into 2nd position. Brilliant drive here from the Jaguar man, and now he's going to be trying to close in on Eduardo Mortara.
Good job, good job. We stay on A4 for now.
Evans told to stay on this attack mode and this strategy because he might be able to get the lead of the race here by the time they get down towards turn 7. I think he'll just run out of attack mode by the time he gets there, but he might be hitting the front imminently, Mitch Evans, from 6th on the grid. He's right behind Eduardo Mortara, although Da Costa is now staying with Evans as they come down in towards turn 7. Mortara leads, Evans now out of attack mode in 2nd place, Da Costa 3rd, Roland 4th, Dennis 5th, Vern is in 6th position.
And the flash of the car you see ahead of Eduardo Mortara every now and then is Dan Ticktum, who's recovering from that incident at the beginning of the race.
Yeah. Van Dorn is up into 12th place, meanwhile, still has an attack mode still to use, so he's nearly up into the points-paying positions. And there you can see the full order. That is Ticktum coming into the left-hander now. That's street racing on the right-hand side versus the left-hand side. As they, big lockup from Degrassi. He's on the attack, he's in attack mode, trying to get ahead of Nick De Vries. But it is Eduardo Mortara in the Rocket Venturi, leading the way across the line, the black number 48, followed by Mitch Evans in the Jaguar. 3rd is Antonio Felix Da Costa. Then it is Roland, and there comes Degrassi on De Vries. A little bit too far back there. You made the face you made a lot of times when you were Audi team principal there, Alan.
I certainly felt that that could have been a collision very easily there. Damage on the front wing there. If you see the right-hand side where it's dislodged, so there's been a little bit of a tap onto the right-hand side of Vern's front wing. It's not a problem at this moment, but it is flapping around a little bit.
Sam Bird is having a good progress as well. He's almost ahead of Oliver Askew and up into 9th and in the back of this queue. So that's a strong race for Bird. He's always been pretty happy with his race pace throughout the year, but just hasn't been able to get the job done in qualifying. And there's a late move from Degrassi up the inside of De Vries, locked up, ahead, gets it done.
Got it stopped. It wasn't exactly elegant, but managed to get the job done. And at the end of the day, I think there's a lot more overtakes that are going to be exactly like that. Lucas Degrassi showing why he's always in contention at the end of the year, just by fighting back from slightly lower grid positions than he would have hoped for.
So, Mortara leading, Evans 2nd, Da Costa 3rd, Roland 4th, Dennis 5th. Here's a look at Jean-Eric Vern. This is how he got the damage, coming into turn 1. Oh, yeah. Dennis got a bit out of shape. Oh, it's a big hit, actually. Dennis is lucky not to have a puncture there.
Yeah, it hit more onto the sort of rear crash structure area. But he is fortunate there wasn't more damage to Dennis. Still in 5th place, Jean-Eric Vern right behind him in 6th. Lucas Degrassi is now catching up. He's got, as you see, the fan boost ratings.
Eduardo Mortara, Antonio Felix da Costa, Jean-Eric Vergne, Lucas de Grassi and Stoffel van Doorn all get a power boost in the second half of the race, up to 250 kilowatts of power. This is the first time all season that Mortara has had fan boost, so he's in a good position out in the lead. You can see the front wing of Vergne just flopping around a little bit, but it looks fairly stable. That's Thomas Chevauche, the team principal of DS Techeetah. That's Roger
Careful
Griffiths.
with riding curbs to your front wing now.
Okay, so the team's saying don't hit the curbs too hard because of that front wing, because they don't want it to come so loose that race control step in and bring him into the pits and say you've got to take it off because it's too dangerous.
Yeah, basically there's a couple of curbs, the right-hand side curbs, where you really have to get the car over them, and it's when the car lands on the far side, it's making the front wing section oscillate there. It's not necessarily going to be too much of a performance problem on the one lap, but if it does, as you say, come to the attention of race control and they deem that that is dangerous, not for Jean-Eric Vergne, but for the other drivers if it comes off, then he will get a flag, a black and orange flag, to bring him into the pits for rectification. That's what his championship does not need.
23 minutes plus 1 lap to go. Jean-Eric Vergne now gets ahead of Jake Dennis and up into 5th position. And that's a move for position. And Dennis now will be under a bit of attack from de Grassi and De Vries, and Askew is having a really tremendous race, comfortably his best race of his Formula E career. He was quite impressive in his opening race in Diriyah, to be fair, but he's been in that top 10 the whole of the E-Prix so far. Energy remaining. Vergne has 2% more than Mortara, 3% more than Oliver Rowland, similar to his teammate da Costa. So Vergne is going to be on the attack in the second half of this race. I think that's got to be the game plan, surely.
Yeah, it certainly is. They've been trying to conserve that energy, and also, I'm sure, monitoring the battery temperature, because when you regen energy, you're putting temperature into the battery. When it gets to a certain threshold, then it actually gets hot like your phone battery does, and it struggles to be able to do that. And then it goes into a thing called derating, where it's not giving the power back out. You try to keep it away from that critical point, and so therefore I think Jean-Eric Vergne definitely is playing the long game.
James Barclay getting a few words of wisdom and looking maybe I can never read James Barclay's face, honestly, other than when they win. I can't tell if he's concerned or happy or what. He has got Antonio Felix da Costa right behind him now, so Evans is dropping away a little bit from Eduardo Mortara. If it stays like this, Eduardo moves into the championship lead, 12 points clear of Mitch Evans in second. Vergne will be third. Van Doorn would go from championship leader down to 4th, and suddenly he'd be 18 points away from the championship lead.
The problem Van Doorn's got is that he's 4.5 seconds behind Sam Bird, who's in 10th place, and so everybody ahead of Van Doorn's quick is, my goodness. That was pretty close there by da Costa on the back of Evans. And so I'd say right now, Evans has got himself with attack mode up into second place, but he's holding up Antonio Felix da Costa. At the same time, Eduardo Mortara slowly has been able to get everything under control again, and he's slowly eking out that gap. It's up to 1 second. So at this point, da Costa realises he does have to make a move on Evans.
We are past the halfway stage in the E-Prix. There's the energy on the left-hand side. Still Rowland and Vergne are the most dramatic differences. Rowland's actually not too different to Dennis, de Grassi, Askew, Bird. Da Costa's in a good place energy-wise. Both DS Techeetahs are, to be fair. And interested to see what they can do with it, because a position in the hand is worth 2 in the bush sometimes. Even if you've got energy, if you can't use it, because Mortara's then too far away, that's when it gets difficult. Here comes da Costa and Vergne. Both DS Techeetahs on the attack into turn 1, and both gain places. Da Costa up into second, Vergne up into 4th.
Yeah, this certainly is now coming to the point where you see people that were using a lot of energy at the beginning to try and gain track position, and also maybe just taking it into the car when they could. But ultimately, the second half of this race is when it's going to be delivered. And if you just look at it, the two DS Techeetahs are in a strong position. I would say right now, Evans is going to try to hang on and get some energy back into the system, and maybe just think about the podium position at best, as opposed to necessarily the race win that I'm sure the whole team were looking at just a few laps ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Less than 20 minutes plus 1 lap to go. Through the left-hander we come now at turn 8. Now through the sweeping right of 9 into the braking zone for the left-hander of 10. There is Dilbag Gill, the team principal at Mahindra. He's got Nick Heidfeld reclined behind him. watching the race unfold, with Roland having gained 6 places over the course of the race so far. Van Dorn has gained 9, Sims has gained 7. Both the Hinderers flying today, absolutely flying. Oh, right up to the wall on the exit there for Roland. He's got a bit of sunning on the right-hand side of his car.
Yeah, there's a small, it's like a side plate that's attached to the bodywork in front of the rear wheel, and he's obviously been a little bit too close to a wall or a barrier, and it's just detached it from the top. It doesn't really affect too much, but ultimately I think it's just came off by touching another barrier.
So this is about the end of the race, not the start of the race, isn't it? Despite the frantic opening we had, Verne has got 2% more energy than the race leader. It doesn't quite work like this, but broadly speaking, 2% is about a lap.
Yeah, I would always prefer more energy in the battery at halfway stage and still be in real contention than not. There's no question. But as my father used to tell me when I was a little kid in karting, they count the winners at the finish, son. And this is a race where they're going to count the winners at the finish. Roland 39%, he's the one that's probably on the back foot right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Van Dorn has just activated his second attack mode, so, and he is he's 4 seconds back actually from Sam Bird, so he's not going to be trying to overtake the British driver anytime soon. Eduardo Mortara leading, and as it stands, moving to the lead of the championship, but Da Costa has really closed in on him now. They're level on energy up at the front. Maybe Mortara has a smidge less on 39% with Da Costa on 40%, but this is the fight for the win. At what point, if you're Mortara, do you know you're not in a championship fight with
when
Da
the
Costa?
checkered flag drops?
Okay, so you're not thinking, oh, fine, if he gets past, it's chilled.
No, it's 7 points, the difference between first and second, and that's going to be very critical at the end of it, so you will fight it all the way. You won't do anything crazy, but I don't think Antonio Felix da Costa will do anything crazy either. Right now, you know, you're just trying to keep and maintain status quo because there's enough of a gap as well for Mortara in front of Evans to slot into there. It does have to happen. But right now, I would say they're too close for anything to be clearly one way or the other.
Less than 17 minutes plus a lap to go here in round 10 of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship. And Alan McNish, the former Audi team principal, alongside me. And this shows us how the drivers are keeping that energy and recovering that energy.
Yes, you see, by coasting through here into turn 10 and then recuperating. So you recuperate by lifting off, and that puts energy back into the battery. You recuperate by a small paddle on the left-hand side of the steering wheel, which manually controls the car going into the corner, and also then heavily on the brakes. And you can see it on that left, regen. That's the important thing, because that puts more back in, but it also raises the battery temperature as well, and at the same time puts more tyre energy in, which means that the rear of the car dances around. So it's a real delicate balancing act all the time by the drivers. Very, very different to any other formula of motor racing, as Jean-Eric Verne now slides up into third place.
So Evans drops to fourth. Jean-Eric Verne in the DS Techeetah gets ahead of Mitch Evans, and that is important for his championship because Verne is second in the standings, Evans is fourth, and that is very positive news for the DS Techeetah driver, Jean-Eric Verne. Up into third place. He'll try and close in now on Da Costa and Mortara in the fight for the lead as they come into the chicane at 3, 4 and 5. Roland is still there in 5th position. Dennis is 6th, De Grassi 7th, De Vries 8th, Askew 9th, Bird is in 10th. Van Dorn was 2 seconds quicker than Sam Bird on that last lap, so he is nearly into the points, but very much the lower reaches of the points. As we go on board with Evans now, as Verne starts to pull away a little bit.
He's starting to pull away, but he's also keeping well off those curbs, as his engineer told him, because he's got damage to the right-hand front area of the bodywork over the right-hand wheel. And so, therefore, he's got to protect that as well, which is not ultimate performance a positive, but it seems to be not too much of a negative at the moment.
Lucas De Grassi still ahead of Nick De Vries, but not quite able to get ahead of Jake Dennis in the fight over 6th place. Dennis, De Grassi and De Vries through the final right-hander of turn 12, and then down in towards the first corner once more. And De Grassi has made good progress. Here comes De Vries, just a little look to the inside. Oh, De Grassi's gone for it on Dennis out of nowhere. So it looked as though Dennis was defending, and De Vries is leaning on Dennis through turn 1. Dennis holds the place for the time being, but De Grassi is now 6th. Dennis is 7th. De Vries is still in 8th.
Yeah, that was certainly from defence to attack in one foul swoop by Lucas de Grassi, and Nick de Vries was not able to take advantage of it, but he is now coming into the chicane. I think Jake Dennis is struggling on his energy now and is starting to sort of look at it, but Oliver Askew is having a blinding race right behind him, because Askew is only, what, a second a bit from his teammate.
14 minutes plus 1 lap to go. Jake Dennis then down into 7th place. The other Avalanche Andretti in 9th of Oliver Askew. But here come 1st, 2nd and 3rd. Mortara, Da Costa and Verne. And this is where the question about team orders will come into play. Verne, behind Da Costa, has more energy than both Da Costa and Mortara ahead. And Da Costa said after qualifying, look, I'm not stupid. I know what's at stake. I know what I need to do for the team, and I will do it. We'll see when, if he does. Did you always trust your drivers if you needed them to move out of the way for the other one? Did you always trust that they would?
No, it's a very, very difficult thing, because you ask a driver to race and you want them to race, but ultimately the thing you've got to be very careful of is if they actually have a collision. So if there ever was a position, we wanted them at least to do it cleanly between each other. You don't compromise your teammate anything like you would compromise a competitor, a direct competitor.
That was Thomas Chevauche, the man who has to make those decisions as they come out now towards turn 7 once more. Mortara still leading the way. Verne with the energy advantage over both of the cars in front, and he's running in 3rd place and he's 2nd in the championship. At the moment, Mortara would move into the lead of the standings, but if Verne wins, he would take the lead of the championship. That's how important it is. And okay, there's still 6 races to go after this one. A doubleheader in New York City in 2 weeks' time? Yes, 2 weeks' time, and then a doubleheader in London in 4 weeks' time.
Close the gap to Tonio and we will overtake T7.
There we go, Verne's being told, close the gap to Antonio, and you can overtake at turn 7. But I wonder if Da Costa now will try and get ahead of Mortara, just to try and make the point a little.
Yeah, I think for the team's championship, it's important they try and finish with the maximum points possible, and that's what the team are thinking about. Here's Jeff.
Protect. He will let you by.
Okay, so he will let you by, is the message to Jean-Eric Verne. Here they come down towards turn 3. As it stands, Mortara would lead the championship by 8 points over Verne. But if Verne gets past Da Costa, Mortara would still lead the championship by less points, or by fewer points. Whereas if Verne gets ahead of Mortara, Verne would be the man moving into the lead of the championship. Is this going to be the switch from Diaz to Cheetah? Down towards turn 7. That was the message. Verne looks a little far back. There it is.
Let's overtake now.
Verne to the inside, gets ahead of Da Costa, and now has his sights set on the battle for the championship lead. Eduardo Mortara versus Jean-Eric Verne for the lead of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship at round 10 of 15.
Yeah, this is definitely where he's using that 2% of energy that he saved up at the beginning. He got shuffled back into the pack, but he's been able to cleanly come through. But a team order switched them around, and that's put Jev into the prime position now behind Eduardo Mortara.
Round 10 of 16. 16 races this season, not 15, my apologies. De Grassi and Van Dorn have both used their fan boost. As Mortara comes across the line, 9/10 of a second ahead of Jean-Eric Verne in 2nd place. All the top 3 still have a fan boost to use, an extra power boost that they can use in the second half of the race. Look how much extra energy Verne has compared to Mortara. But Mortara is in control of how long this race goes, because he's in the lead.
He certainly is, but at the same time, he just put in his own fastest middle sector on that last lap. So as the 2 DS to Cheetahs were switching position, Mortara then went maximum attack in this next middle sector that he's at.
I'm loving this season. Every race is just a really good motor race. And does it feel different to when, what changes have you you've only been out last season, but does it feel different this year?
It certainly feels intense, I've got to be honest with you. It's a lot more relaxing sitting watching than actually participating in it, where you were trying to think of every single scenario. But right now, this particular race is coming to a really nice climax, because it's also bringing in all the championship protagonists at one fell swoop.
Less than 10 minutes plus a lap to go. Da Costa sitting right behind Jean-Eric Verne. The 2 DS to Cheetahs, 2nd and 3rd. And they come through the right-hander of turn 12, down towards turn 1 again. Mortara's lead, 9/10 of a second. He was fractionally slower than Mortara on that lap, but not by a huge amount.
Yeah, but saying that, Mortara has done exactly as he's done in the last couple of races, where he's just managed to pull a little bit of energy back. He's been in control there, still not in as good a position as Jean-Eric Verne, but getting onto the back of Mortara and overtaking are two different things.
You have 2% more sock than Mortara, so we catch now.
2% more sock, state of charge, than Mortara. So let's catch him now, and that's Jerome D'Ambrosio and Delphine Biscay, the team principal and team manager respectively at Venturi. They know the attack is coming from Jean-Eric Verne, and that's Roland getting passed by Nick de Vries. So our Mahindra now paying the price for their early aggression on their energy usage. Sims is down into 12th position, De Grassi is up into 5th, and De Grassi and de Vries actually both got past Roland. Mortara using his fan boost as he comes across the line, just to build a little bit of a gap to Jean-Eric Verne behind. Eduardo Mortara leading, Jean-Eric Verne second, Da Costa third. 8 minutes plus 1 lap to go here in Marrakesh.
And it's getting to be a two-horse race right now, because Eduardo Mortara's had a yellow flag there down at turn 10, which is at the far end of the circuit. And it is 99 that has gone wide. Giovinazzi in the Penske has got back on his way again.
There is the Venturi team. Mortara out in front. I'm interested that he used his fan boost then, because
he used it to use it prior to it being too late in the race. There's only 7.5 minutes, and you need to get it done. I think it's, my memory is correct, it's about 5 minutes, and that was a good time just to try to stave off the charge of Verne, because we were told Verne was going to use some of his extra energy to pull up onto the back of Mortara.
Bird going past Askew in the tower on the left-hand side, you just saw. So Sam Bird finally gets ahead of Oliver Askew and up into 9th place. Van Dorn is just outside the top 10. This is Max Günther sending it on Nick Cassidy, and that is a recipe for a contact.
Yeah, that was.
There wasn't actually much contact, but it was aggressive from Günther on his 25th birthday today.
Yeah, it was certainly getting some TV time there. It was a bit late.
Right, here comes Stoffel Van Dorn. He's in 11th place in the silver Mercedes EQ here at the back of this train, and he's about to get up into the points-paying positions. He's going to lose the championship lead, but now he is trying to limit the damage. We're on board with him in driver's eye, up behind Askew. Verne, meanwhile, is just 7/10 back from Mortara into turn 1. 6 minutes plus a lap to go. I don't think Verne has used his fan boost yet. Da Costa is using his now on the run down towards turn 3. But Mortara is, again, looks to be managing this quite well. I know Verne has a bit more energy, and Van Dorn did get past Askew then and up into 10th place. I know Verne has a bit more energy, but Mortara is looking pretty comfortable here in the Rocket Venturi.
I wouldn't say he's comfortable, but he's in a management position. But Da Costa's caught up in the back of Jean-Eric Verne. And what Da Costa's done is he's actually slipstreamed Verne.
I can get Mortara. I can get him.
And that is the rallying cry from Da Costa, saying, I can get Mortara here. I can get Mortara for the lead. We want points in the Teams Championship. Get Verne out of the way.
He wants a win, but he's slipstreamed his teammate and gained energy back, so he's now back on roughly the same target as Jean-Eric Verne. But Mortara's the one making the whole...
Swap T11, and R3 mode, R3.
And there is the swap. Da Costa back ahead of Verne, so Da Costa reckons he can catch Mortara for the win. Let's see what happens. It's better for Verne in the championship, relatively speaking, if he finishes third and Mortara second, than if he finishes second and Mortara first, right? Because championship points-wise, the gap is different between him and Mortara. It's a bit of a stretch, but it's not actually worse for Verne if Da Costa can get ahead of Mortara. And we may see, if Da Costa doesn't get Mortara, that they switch back potentially.
Yeah, that's very possible. These three are the ones that are out into it. As you see, a big slide there from Da Costa. He's definitely pushing now. He's got a little bit more energy than Mortara, not too much in reality. It's only a tiny bit, so it's going to be on pace that I think he'll do it. Here's the switch.
Yeah, Jean-Eric Verne to the inside, Da Costa to the outside. Back through he goes. Look, Da Costa's closing. He does the last personal best on that last lap of the race. Lucas de Grassi has set the fastest lap earlier on today, so he's set for that extra point at the moment. Van Dorn is about to attack Sam Bird. You can see that on the tower on the left-hand side as he's fighting for 9th and ultimately 8th places. But here comes Da Costa, the man who is looking for his first win of the season, and he is right on the back of Mortara. He does have more pace than his teammate. There won't be any added time because we haven't had any safety car periods, so there won't be any added time at the end of this race. We've got 3 minutes and 40 seconds plus 1 lap to go, and this is just a straight fight between Da Costa and Mortara. They're pretty similar on energy. Da Costa looks to have the advantage on pace.
He certainly does, but Verne's dropped off the back and he's not able to stay into the slipstream. He's able to gain something, but it's maybe not quite enough. There's only a few minutes to go, 3 minutes 25 plus 1 lap. And so definitely Da Costa is on the back, but I'm not so sure that he's got enough energy to be able to overtake. It is going to be a robust overtaking manoeuvre by Antonio Felix Da Costa.
And surely here, I know you poo-pooed me earlier, but surely here Da Costa can risk a lunge and Mortara can't afford a collision.
Yes, he can risk it, but at the same time, he's not the sort of driver to risk something crazy. I wouldn't expect.
That's the corner where he crashed with his teammate a few years ago in the lead of the race.
Yeah, but he's older and wiser since then, and he's won a championship since then. I would hope.
Okay, so less than 3 minutes plus a lap to go. Verline's now down in 15th place. Look, he's still got 4% more energy than Mortara, so they really committed to that lap strategy, Porsche, and it's not paid off at all. 2.5 minutes plus 1 lap to go. Van Dorn is up into 9th place, trying to close in on Jake Dennis in 8th position. Here come the leaders, though, out across the line. 2 minutes 20 seconds plus a lap to go. So what's this? 3 to go now as they come across the line.
3 to go, and it is effectively 2 drivers now because Jean-Eric Verne is 3 seconds off the lead as Nick de Vries has overtaken Lucas de Grassi. De Vries has now jumped up a position.
Verne allegedly hasn't used his fan boost according to the graphics, so that's a bit of an interesting one for Jean-Eric Verne, because you do have to use your fan boost.
Yeah, let's see whether that's the case or it's just not clicked up onto it. But Nick de Vries, we just saw that overtake. He's got a bit of a gap up to Evans, so I don't know if there's going to be too much more progress, even though he's got a couple % more energy. But the front two are definitely pulling away now. 3.2 seconds is the gap between Mortara and Verne, so it's half a second a lap.
Remarkable, remarkable. But here is Da Costa. Forget about Verne for the moment. He's there in 3rd place, he's gone. But the battle is on for the lead of the race. Mortara versus Da Costa. Now, Da Costa said, well, and has in the past forced the lead driver to overconsume on energy. I think back to Monaco last year. Evans, he knew he had more energy than Evans going on to the last lap because he pushed him and pushed him and pushed him. Are we seeing that happen here again?
I'm not really sure, they're too close to call, but I do think Jean-Eric Verne's got a problem because he has now dropped off a second a lap from the rest of the group on the last 2 laps. So Jean-Eric Verne in 3rd place is going to have to defend very quickly from Mitch Evans for the final podium position. As now Da Costa is just sort of mirroring everything that Mortara is doing at this moment. So I would say the aggressive charge that he had has maybe been blunted a little bit.
Evans closing in a little on Jean-Eric Verne. The gap is down. The gap came down by a second on that last lap. So,
and on the previous one as well, it was
yeah,
a second. So it's actually Jev that slowed down significantly as opposed to Evans speeding up.
So we'll keep an eye on that one. It's also pretty close between de Grassi and de Vries still. De Grassi's on 2% less than de Vries, so he's going to be in a bit of trouble maybe, or de Vries will just end the race with too much energy. There's Mortara, there's Da Costa. The clock ticks down to 0. So at the end of this lap, there will be 1 lap to go in the MarrakeshEprix. Evans has got a real chance of getting ahead of Verne for 3rd place. Da Costa is just a little too far back at the moment, potentially coming into the left-hander of turn 11. This is going to be tight for all of the positions in the top 4 on the final lap. Evans has less energy than Verne, but he's feeling on the attack. Down towards turn 1, goes to the outside. Verne goes defensive. Evans goes for the dummy. Verne covers him back. These 2 championship protagonists, both in the top 4 of the standings. And Evans wants to finish ahead of Verne.
Oh my goodness, that was a big lift off.
Early lift from Jean-Eric Verne, and Evans goes through into third, but that was nearly a big crash. And Da Costa now, how close is he to the back of Mortara for the battle in the lead? It looks as though Mortara might have it under control. Here they come, down towards turn 7. Mortara is looking strong. Mortara is looking comfortable. And Mortara is looking set to win for the 3rd time this season.
Very, very good run by Mortara so far. He's only got a half a lap to go, but it's anything but over with the energy targets being so close to the limit now.
They crossed the line basically with 0% remaining. Verne has a little bit more here than Mitch Evans, so it's not over in that battle for 3rd place. I think it's over in the battle for the lead, because Eduardo Mortara onto the brakes, into the left-hander of turn 11, gains another 2%, and there is the attack from Di Grassi. He's getting ahead of Nick de Vries, and he's suddenly back up into 5th position. But Eduardo Mortara, Di Grassi's teammate, comes out of the final corner. Mortara wins again. Mortara hits the championship lead with victory in Marrakesh. Da Costa is 2nd across the line. Evans is 3rd. 3rd is 4th. 5th is Di Grassi. 6th is de Vries. 7th is Dennis. Van Doorn recovers to 8th. There's the delight on the face of Jerome D'Ambrosio, the team principal, and another win. And Diaz Techeetah, for the 2nd race in a row, failed to convert pole position to a win.
Fantastic run there by Mortara. Very good race by Da Costa to pull himself up, and also for Mitch Evans as well. But certainly disappointment for the pace that we saw from Diaz Techeetah. However, it brings the whole championship battle right into link. Van Doorn up to 8th at the end. That was a very, very good recovery drive after a very difficult qualifying.
I think he might have got Bird on the last lap. No, it must have been a couple of laps before then, but wow.
Okay, guys, remember, top 3 are turning left at chicane, so please be aware. Turning left to go to the podium. Everybody else.
Yeah. Follow the race director instruction. You go to the left on the chicane.
So that's Mortara just being told. I think he's a bit lost, so maybe we won't talk to him on the team radio right now. We normally have a chat with him, but I think he's a bit lost. So that way? Wait. So he's just moving out of the way of everybody, and then when he gets through, we'll have a little word with the race winner, waving to the crowd as he now makes his way around the back of the podium and towards the podium.
Eduardo Mortara, it is Alan McNish here. Congratulations, you've won the MarrakeshEprix. Another victory takes you to the top of the title. How does it feel?
Firstly, hi Alan, thanks a lot for...
Wowee, what an absolutely fantastic battle. And Eduardo Mortara takes his 5th FIA Formula E World Championship victory and becomes the 5th different driver to win the MarrakeshEprix since the first race in 2016. And it completely galvanizes the championship fight, as Eduardo Mortara has now shot to the top of the championship fight. What a magnificent battle that was. A really exciting race, and that gives us plenty to talk about going into the final 3 race weekends of the FIA Formula E World Championship in New York City, at the Excel Centre in London, and on the streets of Seoul in South Korea. This is going to be a really exciting championship fight now, as the championship changes hands with only 3 race weekends remaining in the 2021-22 FIA Formula E World Championship. We have a new championship leader. The man who came into this weekend 3rd in the standings is now going to leave it in the lead of the championship. His 3rd win of the season, his 5th ever FIA Formula E World Championship victory, Eduardo Mortara. Brilliant victory for Rocket Venturi Racing. Very good job indeed from Antonio Felix da Costa as well to push all the way in 2nd place. What a storm to the podium on the last lap from the Kiwi, Mitch Evans for Jaguar. Extraordinary charge from him, and that's moments like that that win championships. He just needs to keep himself in the hunt. He needs to keep fighting, he needs to keep pushing, and you never know what's going to happen at the end of a busy season. Some good races there to talk about. I thought the Brits did a brilliant job, Jake Dennis and Oliver Rowland, to keep themselves in the points. Rowland had to get himself back into the points, of course, but manages to get in 8th position by the end. Looks like Jean-Eric Verne
Edo
in fourth place
Mortara,
is quite
fourth
frustrated.
podium in 4 races, your third win of the season and the champion here in Marrakesh. You must be absolutely delighted.
Well, I am. I must admit, after free practice 2, we had a lot of issues and I was not thinking that we could turn this thing around, but I have an incredible team behind me and they managed to do an incredible job already in quali. And then during the race, they had a plan, they had a strategy, we executed it, and it was perfect.
It was ebb and flow at the start, and then once you got that lead, you just seemed to dominate. At any point, did you have any doubt in your mind?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you have the guys putting you a lot of pressure, under a lot of pressure. And I was trying to be intelligent, trying to manage, there was a lot to manage today. Tires, obviously, but also battery temperatures, energy, and it was very difficult. I had to pretty much had some issues with the car today, and yet I was a little bit by myself, let's say, but we did that, and I'm extremely happy.
What a difference a Formula E can make. Massive, massive congratulations, an incredible race.
Thank you.
Great job from Eduardo Mortara. For me, that race was won during the first attack mode sequence. Rocket Venturi really managed to make that race come alive for them in the first of the attack modes, and obviously the podium is coming, so Eduardo Mortara can take his 5th FIA Formula E winning trophy. The MarrakeshEprix has come to a rapid conclusion. We've heard from the winner. On digital, we just heard from second place. Now we're going to hear from Mitch Evans, title contender, in third position for Jaguar. But that man is the new Formula E Championship leader, Eduardo Mortara from Switzerland for Rocket Venturi. An amazing effort and a fantastic performance. And now we get to see him in prime position.
Mitch Evans once again back on the podium from P6 to finish in third. You battled start to finish and again made it exciting right at the end.
Yeah, that was a tough one to manage. Just threw everything at us, battery management, thermally and also energy-wise. Yeah, obviously battling with the other guys. I lost a bit of ground at the start and made it back. So the team guided me really well today. So it was hard to manage, but we got there. Another podium, a lot of points, another trophy. I'm happy.
Was that your strategy? You left it a little bit later than the others with the power mode. You left it very late with that dummy as well. It almost worked. Was that kind of always in your mind?
Obviously, you got a rough strategy and you got to sort of play through instincts a bit. But to be honest, I sort of settled for fourth, and then Jeb was struggling towards the end, managing something. So I was able to pick him off at the end. So yeah, and that's full credit to the guys, just guiding me through really well. So
back on the podium again, still in contention. Thanks so much, mate. Well done.
Cheers. Thanks.
And that'll do nicely for the championship contender, Mitch Evans. Solid and smooth, managing to get himself into a great position. In the early doors, he was feisty. He got his elbows out when he needed to. Held up initially by Pascal Wehrlein, but that decisive move, not waiting around, not playing second fiddle. And then in the final couple of laps of the race, really made work of Jean-Eric Verne with a superb move on the final lap to move himself to third place. That could pay dividends by the time we finish up in Seoul on the streets of South Korea. Great drive, great effort from Mitch Evans. And who knows, potentially a champion in waiting. So a very exciting day at the races then at Marrakesh in Morocco. Not everybody has had a great day, but for Oliver Rowland and Stoffel van Dorn, two drivers who've had to fight their way back into the points. So Rowland has ended up with championship points. So too has the man on the top of the championship coming into the weekend, Stoffel van Dorn. The rest of the drivers get to chill out and have a bit of time in the cool-down room. But we're heading to the podium ceremony now. What a fantastic battle.
Représentant l'équipe gagnante. Firstly, representing the winning team, Rocket Venturi Racing, Jérôme D'Ambrosio, team principal, Rocket Venturi Racing.
It's not the first time that Jérôme D'Ambrosio has been to the podium in Formula E, but he's getting used to doing so in team uniform rather than team wear. Great job for Jerome D'Ambrosio. Another win for him in Formula E, this time as team principal of Rocket Venturi.
From Jaguar TCS Racing, Mitch Evans.
Another solid podium for Mitch Evans, one step closer to a top spot in the championship. He's not there yet, he's not quite in the championship lead, but he isn't far away if he keeps banging in these podium finishes. Consistency is what makes you a champion. He's going about it the right way. Very good work from Mitch Evans and Jaguar today.